This is One on One. We are pleased to be joined by Thomas Krever, Chief Executive Officer of the Hetrick-Martin Institute, and Dr. Ashawnda Fleming, Executive Director of the Institute based in Newark, New Jersey. The Institute is?
The Hetrick-Martin Institute is an institute which was founded about 35 years ago by Drs. Hetrick and Martin in New York City. At the time, they heard the story of a young boy who was brutally beaten and kicked out of his foster care home because he was, quote unquote, too gay. And so they started a one-room drop-in center at that time, which has now grown to the largest institute for programming for LGBTQ youth nationwide.
And the Q stands for?
So the Q means questioning, and it's the realization that sexuality and gender identity is fluid. And so we offer young people a safe space, not just to be, but to come, grow, and thrive.
Let's talk about the issues that face the community we're talking about, the LGBTQ community. Right. What are we talking about?
So when you look both here in Newark as well as nationally, you're looking at disparities, whether it's health, so rates of HIV contraction that are 3 to 6 times larger, mental health challenges, depression, anxiety, trauma.
Worse?
Far worse.
Why?
Far worse. Well, we still, in 2015, when you look at society, we're not there yet in terms of acceptance. And so while we celebrate same-sex marriage, we have to recognize that there's still so much more work to do. So whether it's health, education, employment, the disparities still exist and are pervasive for LGBT youth.
Is there something, Doctor, about Newark and the LGBTQ community? Is there something about this city and the challenges that the young people we're talking about and others who fall into this category face in Newark?
Absolutely. I think Newark it's unique, and it's different in a lot of ways than some other areas because you have multiple issues that are compounded. So when you think about issues of poverty, when you think about issues of lack of resources and access to services, I think all of those things compounded exacerbate the problems for LGBTQ youth in the city of Newark specifically.
You know, in preparing for the show, I was looking at some of the statistics, and statistics often belie the reality of the human pain and suffering. Homelessness.
Right.
So you look and you say, okay, so how does that happen? And you say a very high percentage of young people who identify in this way are not accepted and welcomed into the homes of their parents.
That's right. In fact, in 2015, the #1 reason, aside from poverty, for homelessness is LGBTQ status. And we know that roughly 30% of young people who come out this year will be evicted from their homes.
Evicted.
Evicted.
Describe that. Parents saying you are not welcome here? Is that what that means?
That is what that means. And so young people at very early ages, far earlier than they need or should be, are having to make life and death choices on where they're seeking shelter, food, a community. And this is happening all around us.
Violence. Talk about it.
So a lot of our young people, I would say somewhere close to 70% of the young people that we serve here in Newark self-report that they have either been physically or verbally harassed prior to coming into our program. They experience this on a daily basis regardless of where they are. So it's in their neighborhoods, it's at school, it's everywhere. And so what we try to do is to provide a safe space for young people. So you were just talking about homelessness. So when a young person comes to HMI New Jersey, they get a full mental health evaluation and screening to see what their exact needs are. And so if a young person presents as homeless, so we immediately triage them to find housing because we know it's general Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right. You don't take care of those basic needs. There's no one's going to self-actualize if you're not dealing with food and shelter.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So we start at the ground floor. And so we link young people to those basic resources. We provide food and clothing for young people every day. We provide them with resources in terms of a place to stay. And so that you start building the safety net. And so once you get a young person who's feeling safe and has a safe space to come, then you can begin working with them on things like higher education, academic enrichment, vocational training. And so we start at the ground floor, but it all boils down to that safety and how secure they feel. And so when you're talking about a place like Newark, which is sometimes unsafe for young people who are LGBTQ, and especially our transgendered youth, you're talking about the only place in their life that they go throughout the course of a day where it's safe and it's free from stigma.
Yeah, it's interesting. You made reference to the transgendered youth. Thomas, is it worse, Thomas, for someone who identifies and says, I am, who's a young boy, born as a young boy, and says, I believe I'm supposed to be a young girl and grow into be a woman, or vice versa? Is it worse, and if so, how?
Well, it's certainly far more challenging. This is not what most communities are ready or sadly willing to
Dare
have
I say religious
conversation.
organizations as well. Listen, we have a lot of religious leaders who are
there
part
are
of
certain,
this series.
While there are many that,
but not a lot of openness. No.
Yeah, I think there's a long way to go for that. And so for young people who, it's hard enough just being a young person in this day and age, and then to have to deal with, as Ashawnda pointed out, whether it's race or economics or all the other challenges, poverty that face our young people, to then have to reassert and affirm every moment who they are to a community that may not be accepting, it's incredibly challenging for them.
Real quick, Newark Public Schools, the relationship?
Fantastic in terms of their willingness to both recognize that there's a challenge and to step in and say we need to do something about it. So they've actually been a wonderful supporter to HMI.
To what degree is your institute actually trying to educate and help others who may not be so understanding and or accepting right now understand what's at stake and what impact their lack of understanding and acceptance is really having?
So we actually have a national center. It's the HMI Center for Advocacy and Capacity Building, and your listeners can see it at hmi.org.
HMI.org, we'll put that up. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. And so trainings everywhere, or everyone from principals and superintendents to moms and dads or community members who simply want to know how to make a difference. And so that capacity building, that training for communities is vital, and we're happy New Jersey is exercising that.
Absolutely.
Doctor, let me ask you before I let you out of here.
Absolutely.
This is all of our responsibility, isn't it?
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely. Because I think we're all responsible for the public health of our communities. And so if you think about young people and being stewards of the next generation, I think that it truly takes a village. And for us as adults, I think that we have to reach back and we have to lift as we climb because our future depends on it. So it's all of our responsibility.
By the way, you're located right in one of the high schools.
Yes, and so our partners at the Newark Public School provide us space free of charge at 301 West Kinney Street inside of the Enrollment Center on the second floor.
You're hopeful.
Have to be.
You both answered the same.
There's no
Do
option.
they deserve anything less? I would say, in also an answer to your question, when we were young people, the national coming out age was around 21, 23 years of age.
What's it now?
It's between 13 and 14. And so
For
years
across
of age,
the board here?
Yes. And so young people are making life or death decisions at earlier ages. And when you're 13, you're not thinking about the repercussions like an adult might.
Real quick, before I let you, I got to do this.
Absolutely,
Message to
sure.
parents watching right now,
Awesome.
all parents.
Message to all parents is to accept your child, accept your children, be welcoming to them, try to understand the situations that they are in, and be open and willing to explore life challenges with young people because their lives depend on it.
And I think that's wonderful. And I would add to that it's okay, you're not alone. It's perfectly normal to have questions, to be scared. It's not okay to not get help. You and your family deserve that. And so whether it's visiting hmi.org or finding out more, I cannot impress enough that parents do not have to go this alone. It's okay to not have the answers.
That's right.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thomas and Dr. Fleming, you're doing important work, not just for the children of Newark, but everyone in the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Truly.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato at NJIT has been provided by NJIT, the Fidelco Group, Barnabas Health, Prudential Financial's Global Communications Department, TD Bank, Verizon Communications, and by PSE&G, Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato at NJIT has been produced in cooperation with FiOS One News.